Hello, how are you all doing? Um, Tonight I thought I'd take this opportunity to do a get ready with me video. I'm sure my daughter would shudder at the thought of it, but this would be a little bit different. So tomorrow I'm volunteering at Moss Side Repair Cafe, and I love videos where people talk through the tools and the kit that they have. So I thought I'd go through what I do to get ready for a repair cafe. For anyone that's thinking about volunteering at a repair cafe, I'm not normal. I'm in this deep. I've got way too much stuff. I've got way too many tools. You'll often find that if you go along to a repair cafe, there will be plenty of tools and spare parts there. They just need hands and eyes to operate them. So um, please don't let this put you off. A bit worried about doing this video might put people off wanting to volunteer, but there are also volunteers like me at a lot of the repair cafes that obviously have a problem and like collecting tools, like collecting different things to help them fix what we can fix out there. So I thought I'd just run through some of the stuff that I have. So if I start with maybe left to right, good old trusty Dremel. Uh, it's a Dremel. Well, what do I need to say? It's good for cutting, grinding. I have a lot of drill bits for my Dremel. It's quite useful for cleaning out, small solder holes if you can't get through them. Next, I have a little vacuum that also acts as a air compressor thing, so you can blow out air, get dust off different bits, and also use this to hoover up dust as well. Now, I never know what power is going to be like at a repair cafe, so I always take a little power pack with me as well. So this does, I think, 60 watts, and it allows me to power some of the kit that I've got. I use this for my soldering iron if I can't get access to a 3-pin plug. Uh, Next one is probably one of my favourites, although I think I've only ever used it 2 or 3 times in anger. But it's a little spot welder. It's good for doing battery contacts. Good for repairing small pieces of metal that need to be connected to each other. Again, typically it will be children's toys where the contacts for batteries have come off. My FLIR cam, so little infrared camera that does what you call it, thermal imaging, and that allows you to spot if there are any sort of hot spots on an electrical circuit. You've got short circuit there. What I used it for at Repair Cafe last was testing a air conditioner. So we weren't sure whether it was working or not, but we put the FLIR cam on and we could see the condenser on the dehumidifier was getting cold, and that's all we needed to do. And it was proving that it was working. It just needed a good clean. Batteries, always take fully charged batteries with you. A lot of the time people will come in and say such and such is not working. Have you tried the batteries? Yes, yes, yes. So you just try some fresh batteries in there and lo and behold, starts working again. Then I've got a little component tester, also acts as an oscilloscope. I'm not brilliant with oscilloscopes, but what I have been able to do with them is at least be able to detect if there's data going in or going out of a chip. Really, really useful. You'll see in some later videos that I'll do repairing vintage console machines where you might have a chip that you might think is dead or faulty. It has correct voltages on there, but you don't know if it's actually doing anything. This can tell you if data is flowing in and out. Where have I got to? Where have I got to? So UV lamp. I've got some UV resin. So this is really good at curing that. It also cures solder mask. If you do any soldering, you want to cover up the sort of copper traces on the board. Use solder mask and then you blast it with the UV to cure it. Small portable speaker. It's Bluetooth, but it also works off a 3.5mm jack. And that's just so we can test any audio devices that come in. Some people might say that something's completely dead, but if you connect this up to the headphones or whatever, you can actually test to see if that's working, or if you're fixing the Bluetooth on there. Ignore that, that's just rubbish left on my desk. Then this is just like a 6-port charger that I use to charge everything up, so I'm not waiting for one thing to charge at a time. Next is grinding pen, always useful for cleaning things off and being able to get to be able to solder properly. Then that's just a bit mess. Then also I've got a small digital microscope. I've got bigger scope on my desk here, but that's not practical to take to Repair Cafe. So I use this, take that with me. That can be really useful for trying to find broken traces on electronics, wireless, glue gun. I can't say how much this is really useful. Glue guns are brilliant. I never really thought that I'd like them, but I use it quite often. Then what have I got under here? Now this has to run off the mains, but one of my other favourites is my solder sucker. Brilliant, brilliant for doing lots and lots of desoldering and fixing boards. If you're recapping, like changing all the capacitors on some electronics, if there's more than a few, this is a godsend. I did a friend's Roland SH101, an analog synthesizer from the 80s, I think it was. I changed all of the sliding potentiometers on there. I think each potentiometer had 5 solder points on, and there was about 16 of those potentiometers that had to change. So that's what, 80 things that had to set the solder off. So that's more or less all the kit. Nearly all of this works off an internal battery of some sort, apart from the solder sucker. I do have to plug that in. By the way, the thermal camera, that just connects to my phone, so I use my phone screen to actually see what's going on. I'll just switch across and show a couple of the other bits that I have. Every Repair Cafe I go to, I take Big Red with me. Shout out to all my Guernsey family. Half my family come from Guernsey. My mum's from Guernsey, my dad's from Italy, hence the Italian name. Then in Big Red, I've got all sorts of stuff. A few pairs of gloves, so I probably don't actually need that many pairs of gloves. Lots of wipes so that I can clean things. Then in the top of Big Red, it's basically lots and lots of solvents. Solvents and glues, I would say, is the majority of what I've got in the top. Also got a vise, which helps me clamp things. Got my little Omni vise as well, which is absolutely superb at holding circuit boards. Cotton swabs, small cubes of sponge, which you may think, what the hell's that for? But that's really good for dipping in isopropyl alcohol and cleaning PCBs, printed circuit boards, some uber thin cotton swabs as well. Different glues. I've got this, which is I'm not even sure what you call it, but it's a grip that can go on your drill. Put a piece in there. It's a bit like a lathe clamp, but you stick it on your drill, stick it on your Dremel, and that can help you clean, polish things. Battery charger. I think that's more or less everything that's in the top. One thing that I found from the olden days that's really good is Brasso. Brilliant at cleaning contacts, brilliant at getting sort of oxidization of things. Had a lady bring a kettle in once and lifted it. She said it wasn't working and lifted it up, and it was so corroded at the bottom. Bit of Brasso on a cotton swab, a few times round, got all the corrosion off, it started working. Some contact cleaner, another thing, contact cleaner. So just basically lots of things to clean things and then lots of things to glue them back together. Some solvents like acetone, vinegar is a really good thing to have as well if you're cleaning battery acid. And then we've got a little blower. So sometimes you want to be able to blow dust off things without using the big powerful electric one. You might just want to have a couple of blows of that. So it's just a squeezable blower. Then in the drawers, I have all sorts of stuff. Some blue tack, really handy for when you're soldering. The trick with soldering is cleanliness. heat, and also holding the things still. So if you've got some blue tack and you've got some awkward parts, you can use a blue tack to hold things in place. Then I've got a few other bits in here, some deoxit, good at cleaning contacts, electrical contacts, some super glue. So what can't you fix with super glue? Some polywatch, good for cleaning scratches off watches, little oil pan, some bits and bobs, and some glue sticks for my hot glue gun, various craft knives and clippers, and a small jeweler's anvil in here. Show you this. Quite useful for if you're having to bend small electronics to get them into shape to allow them to be soldered. Then the drawer full of tweezers and picks and spudgers and toothbrushes and all sorts. There's probably about, I don't know, 50 different things in here. Dental floss things for cleaning things out, little brushes, tweezers, all sorts, all sorts. In here, more tape, some solder mask, some thermal paste, and some low melt solder. So this is really useful if you ever have difficulty desoldering things. Typically, controllers for games consoles, they can be notorious for getting the solder off. Then I've got my soldering drawer, just some flux in here, solder braid, some sort of tinned. Oh, my words are going from me. Solder, a few different thicknesses of copper wire, and a small USB powered soldering iron. I only ever use this for Repair Cafe. I do have a proper solder station on my desk, which is it's better to use, but obviously it's not as easy to carry around. So my oh dear, I've forgotten how tired I am. My engraving pen sits in this drawer, and also I've got my wire cutters. It's been a long week, long week. Pliers, screwdrivers, screwdriver set with lots of different bits in there, and still I find things that I can't, I haven't got the bits for. Then some vernier calipers, probe for my oscilloscope, some mole grips or lockable pliers, I think they call them across the pond, more wire strippers, hammer, only a little diddy hammer, but it's also acts as a pry bar, which can be really, really useful. Fixed a lady's scooter last time I was in Mosside Repair Cafe. Some snips, really useful for cutting thin bits of metal that you might not be able to do with your scissors. Pair of scissors in there, and then probably the messiest drawer right at the bottom. This is just full of all sorts. Mostly testers. I've got my multimeter in here. I've got some peak testers for testing capacitors, testing Zener diodes, testing transistors. I've got a small portable bench power supply. So this does 0 to 30 volts. So you power it off battery pack like this. But if you want to turn this into a voltage that you want, I don't know, 24 volts, 18 volts, and you want to specify the voltage, you can use this. I haven't actually used this in anger yet. LED backlight tester. Again, not really used it in anger. I've used it in a couple of trial things where we took some TVs apart with some other Repair Cafe people to try and learn how they work. My sister's given me a 50-inch TV that there'll be a video on that soon. That has seemingly has problems with the backlight. A couple of things in here that's slightly different. So I've got some, I don't know what you call them. They're soldering clamps. I don't know, but ultimately you just pin your two wires in the top there, and then you can bring the two wires together and hold the two wires still whilst you're soldering them. They're a bit cumbersome. I don't use these too much. I have another clamp somewhere which also holds wires together to allow you to solder, and hot plate. This is really useful. I was doing a micro USB port swap, so I just put the board on here so I could heat the board up. So when you're doing ports, you want the board not to be sucking away all the heat from where you're doing the port. So if the board's warm, it's not as likely to suck the heat away from there. Last thing in here is a crystal tester. Never use this at Repair Cafe, but I have used it when I've been doing vintage games consoles. So you might want to check the crystal on the board. Then that's big red. I take an iPad with me as well so that I can look at the camera feed from my microscope. Then I'm just going to show you just around here as well. I'm not sure if this will work too well, but down here I have a roll box full of spare parts. So one box is full of electronics or electronic components, transistors, resistors, capacitors, some bulbs, some fuses in there. And then the other one's got things like battery contacts springs. What else have I got in there? Screws, the bits for my Dremel, some spare wire. And then to the side, which is one thing that gets used more often than not. It's a set of extra long screwdriver bits. So I think these are 150mm long. Just go into the sort of screwdriver socket that I've got in got in my tool chest. But the amount of things like blenders or hair dryers or anything like that where you go to try to take it apart. Hang on, let me just switch over. You go to try and take it apart, but you can't get to the damn screws because they're buried so far down deep in the appliance. And then what else do I take? So I always mean to take a silicone mat to work on so I can protect whatever table that I'm working on. Some places are not that fussy about it, but I'd much rather not cause any damage whilst I'm there. So good to have my silicone mat with me that I always forget. And I think that's more or less it. Sometimes I do take I've got a small screen. So we had a lady come in once with a MacBook that was water damaged. You could hear that it powered on. You could hear that it was booting up, and it sounded like it's fine, but we were getting nothing on the screen. We didn't have a screen there, so I got hold of a small portable HDMI screen. It's only, I think, 8 inches big, but it means that we've got something to test laptops that seemingly work but have no display. Means you can hook up an HDMI cable, and at the very least, that they can log on, get their data off, etc. Replacing a screen on a laptop's not exactly something that we would do at Repair Cafe. I mean, it depends on how busy we are and depends how easy it could be, and if they've got a new screen with them. Might attempt it, but you know that can be quite a protracted fix, and it's also repairing things that are quite expensive. I'm a bit wary because of, you know, we are effectively amateurs. I always advise people, you know, if it's something expensive, something they really care about, we can try, but I'd like to give them a level where they can judge the risk themselves and maybe say, well, actually, I'll take that to a professional repairer where I'll get a warranty period out of something like that. So always just be a bit careful with what sort of repairs that happen. So I think that's it, more or less. Trying to think, do I take anything else with me? That's most of the stuff I take. So yeah, looking forward to tomorrow. I've got a feeling that I might be the only volunteer at my side. They do struggle for volunteers. I'm going to do another video tomorrow to show what it's like a day at a repair cafe. I won't be filming people, but I will film the repairs over 2 hours, just so that you can see what goes on, what happens. You can see the sort of diagnostic process, the fact that I don't know what I'm doing, but ultimately comes in, take it apart, have a look. There's a lot of common faults out there. There's some obvious stuff as well. You just got to take your time, be careful, don't cause more damage if you possibly can, and then just try to do your best with whoever's brought it in and explain things to them as well in the hope that they might be able to fix it themselves in the future. So that's my portable kit, and I will do a follow-up video tomorrow to show everyone what goes on. Okay, bye.